I think we're live. I think that means we're ready to go. Hello and welcome to Marlins in the Morning. My name is Kyle Cruzy. That is Nick Esposito. He's already got a smile on his face. We are back for year two. Fresh start, trying something new. We're going live after opening day. It wasn't a very fun one. The Marlins fell 6-5 in extra innings. We'll get to that in a second. Before we start,
Going
things are
live,
going to be a
yeah,
little weird.
going live
Uh,
after a loss could be a
Going
disaster
live after a loss, yeah, I
reference.
mean, mentally, things are a little crazy here. Um,
I think
but
the live button should be as soon as the game ends.
we should just go right into it.
Yeah,
I
raw
think this is,
raw emotion.
I mean, the raw emotion's still there for me. The Marlins blew a 3-run lead and lost 5-2. But before we talk about the game, I just want to say technology, we're going to step it up as time goes on. I hope if this is the standard, this isn't the standard, we'll get better. But yeah, we figured we'd try something new today. And opening day, fresh start, fresh cut mowed grass. Everything's beautiful. You get the nice little opening day banner behind home plate, and the Marlins just stink it up. What do you got, Nick?
Just real quick before we forget, we are missing Ethan. He didn't like.
Ooh,
He's still he's still here. He actually went to the game. He's the only one of us three that can routinely go to games. So he was at opening day today. He's currently driving home. So he may or may not be here in a couple of minutes. We are not sure.
he's
But
not
yeah,
here
he
yet.
he, he still is around and whatnot.
Well, my original plan to slowly phase him out of the show is now ruined because you said that. But yeah, no, Ethan will be back with us. He was at the game and sitting in notorious South Florida traffic, so he'll be either late or not with us today, but he'll probably be with us tomorrow or whenever we're back, which should be tomorrow, but that's another conversation for another day. Anyway, uh, Marlins Pirates opening day, great crowd on hand. We were going to talk to Ethan about that. We'll see. We'll try to push that towards later about the atmosphere. It was really fun stuff. 32,564 on hand for the Marlins and the Pirates. Started things off the Marlins offensively. 2 runs in the second inning. If I'm not mistaken, a Jake Berger single moving Jazz over, and then Tim Anderson. Guys, Tim Anderson is a Marlin. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Lots to cover after the game now that I think about it. Tim Anderson, a little welcome to Miami moment. He drives home a run with a double to right field. There was an RBI from Jesus Sanchez on an error up the middle that was going to be a surefire double play. Double plays, another theme of this game that cost the Marlins quite a bit. Ryan Reynolds would answer in the third with a couple runs.
Did we get to
Marlins,
three or four double plays on the
we
day?
had, I believe, 3 double plays by the end of it. There was the, well, we'll get to the extra innings debacle. Um, Yeah, but just going through the score sheet right here, in the third inning, Jazz Chisholm doubled. Jake Berger had an RBI single, if I'm not mistaken. Marlins take a 4-2 lead. Uh, boy, I'm looking at the sheet and I see Avi Garcia's name next to the Jesus Sanchez slot, and I'm already getting upset. Ah, it was an interesting and an exciting opening day. Let's preface that. We were super excited coming into this until the very end of the game when the Marlins just fell a little bit short. Marlins took a 4-2 lead, expanded it to 5-2. Josh Bell would come around to score on a sac fly from Berger. Marlins actually did a good job in that fifth inning, move the guy over, drive him in. And after that, the offense was non existent, would you say, Nick?
Yeah, no, I mean, runners that they put in scoring position after that were put in scoring position by rule. The offense, sixth inning onward, for the most part, disappeared. Um, so 5-2 heading into the seventh.
What's kind of worse about that, by the way, Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Marlins before we get ahead of ourselves. He did fantastic. 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, pair of walks, pair of runs. It was on the Brian Reynolds 2-run home run. Those were there were only 2 hits that Luzardo allowed. Then the bullpen comes in, and boy did the bullpen come in this game. It started with George Soriano, who was solid. Got pulled This is a long list of names on the bullpen, guys. There were 2 Marlins relievers that did not go today. Their names are Brian Hoeing and Bert Smith. Bert Smith, a new acquisition that you've probably never heard of if you're listening to this. So the Marlins go deep into the bullpen. Uh, it was an interesting ball game. We're a little rusty at this, aren't we,
Seven,
Nick?
seven, seven arms total. For the Fish, as you mentioned, Soriano in for just a third of an inning, just recorded 1 out, gave up 2 hits, 1 walk. Nardi took over, got out of that bases loaded jam in the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, and he would come back out for the 8th. Bender takes over from then. Do I have my innings right there, or am I an inning ahead? I think I'm an inning
So.
ahead.
Nardi comes in the 6th after
Nardi
Soriano
comes in the 6th,
gets
took on
1
the
out,
7th. Nardi
and
was
then Nardi, yeah,
charged
right.
the 2 runs in the 7th that Bender did surrender. Wow. Bender did surrender. And
Good one.
then in the 8th, Sixto Sanchez returns to the bump and did give up a run. Pretty good pitch, just taken Yabo by O'Neill Cruz down the left field
Yeah,
line. Nothing you can
we're
really.
you're understating that. You just said Sixto Sanchez came in the
I
8th
did.
inning
I
in
did.
a
I did.
one-run
Yes.
game
Yes.
on opening
So
day.
Sixto
We haven't seen
Sanchez had
Sixto since
Sixto since the NLDS, if I'm not mistaken. Sixto had yet to pitch
2020.
in front of Marlins fans, having only appeared in the 2020 season. He took over. He looked really good on the bump. The only hit he surrendered was a long ball to O'Neill Cruz on a fastball. Secondary pitches looked really good. Only 11 pitches over the course of the inning. Did not record a strikeout, but outside of the 1 hit, unscathed. And then Tanner Scott, quite the exciting 9th inning. Again, now
Hmm.
tied 5 apiece between the Fish and the Buccos. And Tanner Scott put 2 runners on and then got out of it, once again, unscathed. And then Declan Cronin would take over for the Fish, and he would round out this laundry list of names that took the bump for the Fish today. He was solid. Again, another one of those, if you don't know him, you don't like. 3 solid innings, only surrendered 1 hit. Not an earned run, but it would be the game winner. Walked 2 and struck out 3. So the Marlins, 7 pitchers, I guess not counting Lazardo, you got 6 out of the pen in game 1. Not only game 1 of 162, but game 1 of a 4-game set. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as we get later in this series. So I don't know how
So hold
much we
on.
want to.
You say laundry list. First of all, where does that term come from? Do you know what that's from? Is it just the list of laundry that you need to have done? It's a long list. I
Yes, it's a
think
long list.
CVS receipt.
That it's
This
a
looks like a
yes, yes,
CVS receipt.
a
This is
CVS receipt.
my
Yes.
Marlins bullpen. The Pirates went deep in their bullpen as well. Entire bench was used by the end of the game. We got new names. Christian Bethencourt came in
Yeah,
to run and catch an inning.
the only guy we didn't see from the Pirates was David Bednar, their all-star closer. Likely you'll see him at some point over the course of the next 3 games. I guess hopefully not. If he's closing for them,
Prob-
you don't want to see him
Probably
as a
tomorrow.
Marlins
Yeah,
fan, but
we'll
it's more
probably see
likely
him,
than
right?
not. Yes. A lot of runners left on base in extra innings. Both the ghost runner and runners the Marlins put on, unable to get anything going. The Pirates finally take advantage in the top of the 12th. A bloop single to right. Scores Cabrian Hayes, O'Neill Cruz thrown out, attempting to score from second. That would send the Marlins to the bottom of the 12th, where they would be retired in order, DLC, or not retired in order, or
No,
yes, retired in order,
had
DLC.
the man on though. Yeah.
That don't. Retired in order, DLC takes one the other way, caught at the track. The Fish lose the opener of the season, now down to 4th place in the NL East. That's just a little joke in there. They lose 6-5 in 12. Kyle, what do you got?
Long
Sorry,
story short.
I took over
No.
I
You're
took
good.
over the recap a little bit there.
You're right on. We may be able to get to Ethan here. He's he's here, but I'm gonna test it to see if he's actually here.
Well, before we let him in, let's wrap up the game thoughts, and then that way, if something goes wrong, we have
Oh,
the
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Long story short, tough loss. Really, really rough loss on opening day. A lot of fans. It was a good crowd. That's what I want to talk about with Ethan because he was
Yeah.
there
So
and he was part of it.
largest weekend. Yeah, we'll wrap back around to the crowd. Largest opening day crowd since 2016. A little ways back. Obviously, sprinkled in, you have away openers, but very, very solid crowd for the Fish.
At
Ethan
4
will
o'clock on
get
a Thursday too.
very true. Ethan
Let's
will
see.
get to that one, hopefully.
Let's see if Ethan's here. Can
You
we
wanna try
try?
that?
Well, he's muted. Ooh, that's a car. That's bad. Oh, we
Nope.
had him for.
Nope.
Hold on, hold on. We're just hanging
I'm
out.
here.
He's here. Here we go. How was
Long
the
time
game,
caller,
Ethan?
first time listener. No,
Welcome back.
but in all
It is your
seriousness,
first time listening. You're right.
it is my first time listening, which is kind of crazy. But yes, as I mentioned, I am on my way from the game, home from the game, on the Palmetto right now. So trying to call in and drive on the Palmetto. It should be an Olympic sport here. But
Dynamite dropping so far.
just to kind of allude, huh?
No, go ahead.
Anyways, just to kind of allude to what they were saying, if my voice is a little gone, it's because the crowd was so electric tonight, and it's a shame that the Marlins, weren't able to pull it off here. You know, kind of choking away a 5-2 lead at some point, and spoiling the in front of fans debut of Sixto Sanchez, unfortunately, as well. Just to be able to see his long road to recovery back. And I was there at his first spring training appearance this year. Um, and some might say on Twitter that I even doubted him being able to make this return. But, I mean, all things considered.
What? Doubting Sixto? No. Stop that.
So yeah, let's touch on
Anyways,
Sixto real quick before things get out of hand. Ethan, I'm just gonna mute you so your car sounds aren't there for right now.
So yes,
So
so
Sixto
Sixto.
Sanchez comes back. No, it's okay. I'll go ahead. Sixto Sanchez comes back. 2020 was the last time we saw this guy. He was a little slimmer. Obviously, that's the joke that everyone's gonna first come up with. He was throwing a little bit harder. He was a young, exciting prospect. He was 2020. It was 4 years ago. There were no fans. There were literally no fans at the games last time he threw pitches.
Yeah.
He
I
threw in the
he
NLDS
looked
against the
so
Braves.
so over the
Oh, go
last
ahead.
couple. I will go ahead. Actually, over his couple of spring training appearances, I know the first time out he was low 90s, and everyone kind of pumped the brakes a little bit, a little hesitant on the Sixto train. Um, but then his velo jumped as he kind of worked back into it, and he was up to 88. Apologies, he was up to 98 today
Mhm.
on the bump. Again, one of those fastballs, only 3 on the day. One of those fastballs taken out by O'Neal Cruz, but worked in a great pitch mix, fastball, slider, change. All 3 look solid. Again, that was a well placed fastball. It just ran into the bat of O'Neal Cruz. But he's looked great. I mean, as you alluded to, haven't seen him since 2020, at least at the major league level. Long road to recovery. And I mean, if we keep rolling out 5, 6 guys out of the pen, uh, you're going to need Sixto to step up and be a big part of that.
So obviously, the injuries that we haven't talked about yet. No Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. No Braxton Garrett. No Eury Perez. Ethan, tell me how I did. I'm working hard on that one. Eury Perez.
absolutely
Terrible.
horrendous.
Yuri Perez. Thank you, Ethan. Yuri Perez is also hurt. Probably going to be out for at least a month or two to start the season. Without these guys, Luzardo comes in, solid start. But that's why you're starting to see some names like Sixto in the back of this bullpen. Birch Smith was a late addition. So Sixto, yeah, he might be really part of this pen for the course of the season if he remains healthy. It's interesting to say the least. It's fun to see Sixto out there. It's a shame that he unfortunately was the last run allowed to blow the lead and gave up that home run. I mean, second pitch was a home run. It was kind of a bad look, but he did bounce back, get those 3 outs. So you can't give up on him after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots more to talk about in
So you
regards to
bring
the
up
roster.
Luzardo there. It's no secret that the Marlins don't have the strongest offense in the world, at least on paper.
Mhm.
Look good early on through the first 5. Um, you have to be able to win, like especially when you're strong suit. Albeit an injured rotation, injured bullpen. Um, that's going to be your strong suit. I know we hate to hear the the Marlins are going to be carried by their pitching, but that's the truth. There weren't very many changes made on the offensive side of the ball. I'm still in football speak.
Basketball too, I think. I think
Basketball
you
too.
got a little bit
Yes,
of that
agreed.
mix in there.
Pitching's going to be your strong suit, and you're not going to. Paul Severino said it best the other day. You're not going to be winning these 10-9 games, but games where you put up 4 or 5 runs, you have to be able to win those. Um, Obviously, you can't go out there expecting to win every game 1-0. But when your offense is able to put up a 4 or 5 spot, and Luzardo goes up there 5 strong innings, I mean, 2 hits opening day, all you can ask for. He would have kept going. He was at 85 pitches, but obviously, long season. Want to work him back, especially with the injuries. You can't waste strong starts. Otherwise, we are going to be looking at a probably well below 500 team as opposed to maybe a team that's fighting for a wild card spot come the end of the year. I know it's game 1 of 162, and those are kind of like long term, maybe even overreactions. But when your offense isn't your strong suit, you have to take advantage of every opportunity where your pitching excels. I mean, the across the 7 guys, 17 strikeouts on the day for the Fish. That's notable. That's a game. Again, you put up 5 as the offense, you need to be winning those games 5-2, 5-3, etc. Especially when you do jump out to that early lead.
To that point, the Marlins last season did take advantage of that. They were. I want to make sure I'm getting the stat right because it's
30, 34, and 13.
well, yes, the 34 and 13 in 1-run games. In games where they scored 5 runs, Nicholas, 54 and 8, an
I did
871
see
win
that. Yeah,
percentage.
yeah.
Yeah,
Best in the MLB
that's the best in baseball. That's
last
crazy.
last year.
Um, that
Yeah,
last year,
and
yeah.
so
0 and
again,
1 this year.
don't want to overreact to one game, but
Right.
those type of things are typical. The 1-run games, uh, stats like those where you're so good in one particular area, those are where teams tend to regress. So everything kind of has to be like if you have such a great start, whether it be from Luzardo, whether it be from Puck, whether it be from Max Meyer, that has to be taken advantage of. And I mean, maybe 1 out of every 10 wins, we'll see the Marlins put up 9, 10 runs, but
Right.
that's not going to be the expectation.
Um,
And then so I on that point, kind of with the Marlins offense. You want to talk about? So I said this to you earlier, Kyle. You want to talk about not working the count?
mm,
You said it early on that Mitch Keller had given up 4 runs, I believe it was, when you had texted about it, and he was at like 40 pitches or something like that. It was some absurdly low number. I mean, usually you see a guy getting knocked out at that stage of the game just due to pitch count.
the fact that he worked into 6 was not
Exactly,
great considering the
exactly.
day he was having.
So overall, both teams 7 pitchers, starter plus 6 out of the pen. The Pirates had 138 pitches, 85 of those were from Mitch Keller. The Marlins had 213 pitches, 85 of those from Jesus Luzardo. The Marlins didn't do the best job of working counts, especially later in the game when the offense was not churning as it was early on against Mitch Keller. And that's another thing. I mean, if you're not going to have an offense that can put up X amount of runs, you got to be able to work counts, got to be able to get to the bullpen, and so on and so forth. That's my
Speaking of that
spiel about
offense,
both sides of the ball. Um,
speaking
yeah,
of that offense, though, the Marlins have a guy on their team who has struggled offensively over the past couple of years. think you know who I'm talking about. Avi Garcia. Still on the roster. He's kind of the fifth outfielder. He comes in today, 0 for 2. Just before we move on, talk about John Birdie, the
Ethan's
trade that happened the other
booing
day.
right, by the way.
Before we jump onto that, what do we think about Avi Garcia? I'm sure Ethan has some. You know what? Let's hear what
Yeah.
Ethan's got.
Real quick, the Sam Reinhart to Sasha Barkov Panthers just scored. They're up 2-1.
All right,
On
there's
the
some good
Islanders.
news today. A little bright
Ethan,
spot.
you want to give your Avi Garcia thoughts?
Yeah. Kind of a polarizing figure, clearly. I know
I would say the
Marlins
opposite.
fans
That
have
might
been,
be the most certain figure in Marlins baseball right now.
well, yeah. I mean, it's not very common when you see an entire fan base booing a guy on opening day.
Hmm.
And he got that. And it was a rough performance, and it's been consistent rough performances over the course of the past 2 years. At some point, the front office has to make a decision because fans are going to start getting even more frustrated. And it's never fun when you have a guy taking away at bats from a relatively younger player in Jesus Sanchez who shows a lot of potential. And I get it, the whole lefty lefty situation and everything, but you have a guy taking away at bats from a kid like Dane Myers who's stuck in AAA, right? And I'm sure there's countless other guys that are, losing their chance in the majors. And the whole reason is we can't get rid of him because of the salary. And that's just the reality of the situation here. Marlins fans made it heard today. Even when he had the chance to walk us off in extra innings there, and he wasn't able to get it done, I guarantee you, even if he was able to walk us off, people still wouldn't have been happy.
I think we
So
would have been. I have a different take on that. I think we would have been okay with Avi Garcia right
Yeah,
now if he had a
I
walk
would have
off.
been all right. It would have
I would have been
been
fine with it.
temporary. It would have been temporary, but I
I
think it would
wouldn't
have
have
been
been
okay.
as excited in a week, but yeah.
Just by the way, so as of like June of last season, I there's like no turning back on Avi. So yes, he could have walked it off, and it would have been a temporary. Oh, cool, Marlins win. Thank you, Avi. And it
Yep.
does not change the fact that his contract is terrible. He should be off the team. And he would be off of
the only saving grace.
most rosters if he would be off of most rosters, even with the 20 something million that we still owe. What is it, 17 million that we still owe him?
I don't exactly have the
It's
figures in
close to
front of
that
me.
number. I know
Ethan,
it's
just real
50
quick, what
something
do you got?
total.
Yeah, the only saving grace and the only reason why he is on this roster in the first place is to be that platoon against the lefty pitcher, which is why he came in for Sanchez in the first place. But I mean, at some point, he is a guy that has been in the majors for a while. He is going to want at bats, and you're going to have to start him, every few days at least to give the other guys a break. I mean, at one point, do you just say, let's just eat the contract and get rid of him? I feel like it would be a
Well,
net positive at that point.
we've been talking about it for, I mean,
A
even
year and a
since the
half
end of
now.
his first season with the Marlins, and now we're in year number 3. So I don't know if we can imagine that. It's kind of just put up with him, and maybe you'll get some bright spots where he looks somewhat like he did a few years ago. I don't know, but let's talk about John Birdie, a relevant player to the Marlins offense, more so than Avi. Um, Marlins make a trade yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? I'm already losing track.
Yesterday. It was
It was
yesterday.
yesterday. Marlins make a trade.
2
They
days
ship out
ago,
John Birdie.
or I guess no. My apologies. We are live. As of the live recording, it is yesterday.
Correct.
As of
We're used
the
to doing this.
Spotify recording,
Right.
2 days ago. John Birdie is a New York Yankee now, a 3-team trade. Yankees send Ben Rotvert to the Rays. Rays send Shane Sasaki to the Marlins. Marlins get John Cruz from the Yankees, and as mentioned, John Birdie ends up in New York. We're not going to really talk about the Rays side of it, just because there was no direct. I mean, other than us getting Sasaki, there's no direct. Marlins didn't send anyone to the Rays. Losing Birdie.
And to be fair, you would like to talk about the Yankees because you have a little bias
No,
towards.
stop.
All right. Well,
Stop that. Stop that. I actually would like to. No, the So losing John Birdie, plain and simple, hurts the Marlins. There's no sugarcoating that. There's no player really that's. I made a joke about recreating him in the aggregate between Xavier Edwards and Vidal Brujan.
Well, he's a recreation of other players in the aggregate, I think,
Yes,
if we're being
yes, this
honest.
is
But
true.
yeah,
This is true. But second in WAR, if I'm not mistaken, last year for the Marlins. So now, if you look back at that, the Marlins lost two of their three WAR leaders in Jorge Soler and now John Birdie, and the third on that list went 0 for 5 today in Luis Ariz, and his
hmm.
WAR just naturally is going to regress unless the expectation is that he hits 350 again. So you combine all three of those, the Marlins are losing their top three offensive producers. It makes the Birdie trade hurt. It especially this year, and then he was a pending free agent, so not much beyond that, but it does hurt this year. From an offensive, from a defensive perspective, he played all across the field.
And the replacement, just real quick, Nick Gordon, which obviously it's one game, and the Marlins do believe in Nick Gordon, and we've
Small
seen that.
sample size.
Very small sample size.
Maybe that's who I meant. Xavier Edwards and Nick Gordon as the replacing him in aggregate.
Right. Well, Nick Gordon 0 for 3 today. I believe, what do we got? A fly out, a line out, and a strikeout. But again, young guy,
Small
first
sample
game,
size. Small sample
small
size.
sample size.
So
Don't
Birdie
neglect that.
Birdie in the short term hurts. However, and I got flack for this one. It does clear the way for Tim Anderson to be the full-time starting shortstop. Not saying that there was much of a question beforehand because you sign him, you bring him in to be your shortstop. But there is a difference between not having a quality backup to Tim Anderson and just having Tim Anderson and then a question mark behind him, especially when you are banking on a player who, not to be harsh, was one of the worst players in baseball last season, offensively and defensively. You're expecting him, or you're hoping that he returns to his 2021 form where he won the batting title. That's banking on a lot with a question mark behind him. So in that sense, the Birdie trade hurts as well. So it's Birdie as an individual, and then what Birdie provides you as a quality backup. Now for the flip side, looking to the future, does this help the Marlins? What is Bendix thinking? Do we trust him? It's a pair of outfielder prospects that the Fish got, kind of polar opposites in a way. Sasaki is 23, came over from Tampa Bay. He was their 21st overall prospect, according to Baseball America, which is always a good thing. Rays are always loaded with prospects. Usually making a trade with the Rays is a caution. You should avoid it at all costs because
But
they
we
are
are the
going to
Rays now,
fleece you.
right?
But yes,
That's the
Bendix
theory, at
is
least.
in Miami now. So Sasaki, injured last season, only played 68 games. He is yet to play above high A, which as a 23-year-old, give or take, plus speed and plus defense, does not hit for power. He's definitely a contact back. Projects as a center fielder because of his speed and his defense. But again, a little bit older with some injury history there and no experience yet above high A. John Cruz from the Yankees, much younger, younger than the both of us, just
That's
18 years
concerning.
old. He was the 25th ranked Yankees prospect, according to Baseball America. Again, both of these prospects will probably be, I don't know if it's updated or not, but they'll be in the top 10 for the Marlins, which is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It might be a testament to the quality or how good the trade was, or it's a testament to how bad the Marlins farm system has been.
In the last couple years.
Which one you prefer, we shall see. Cruz is the opposite. Cruz is flash from power, 15 home runs across the Dominican Summer League and rookie ball, but struggles at times at the plate. Pitch selection, does not walk at such a high clip, and strikes out almost a quarter of the time. And unlike Sasaki, he projects as a corner outfielder. His defense probably won't keep him in center. So a solid, an okay return, at least on paper, for the Marlins. Definitely some risk involved with each prospect. However, Birdie is aging. There's not necessarily the urgency to compete this year. I think we can agree on that one, that
Yep.
there is an eye on the future. Bendix has said this. So in that sense, getting rid of your 34-year-old expiring contract is okay. Gets an okay from me. I like it to a degree. As long as you're looking through the lens of, okay, we're looking at rebuilding the farm system and attacking what has been a weakness for the Marlins for going on 5 years now, and that's outfield bats. So
I would say, if anything, odd timing, but no, you make a lot of good
yeah.
points.
So that's the last point. The day before opening day, one of your clubhouse favorites to ship him off is just
Longest tenured Marlin, I believe. It's either him or Sandy.
Sandy. Yeah, it's what
I know.
it's
I
one
know
of the two.
Birdie's been here since 2019.
Yeah, so
That
it's
team
one
that
of the
won like
two.
57 games.
Very weird timing to wait until after spring training, the day before opening day, to ship him off. But I digress. Gets a somewhat of a thumbs up from me.
So guys that are sort of going to replace him, not in the aggregate per se, but on the field literally. Jake Berger is going to be playing third base. A couple weeks ago we thought Birdie would be the shortstop, and then we got Tim Anderson, which we haven't even really mentioned. That we signed Tim Anderson, had his first game, an RBI double in his first at bat, pretty nice. But Jake Berger, great game today. I believe he had either 2 or 3. He had 3 hits. Josh Bell over at first base. He'll get some time as DH as well. He had at least a pair of hits. I want to say that he got on base at least 3 times also. So great days for those guys. A couple more names that we got to run through before we're finished. The new guys, Bert Smith, picked up from the Rays, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Christian Bethancourt, the new Marlins backup catcher behind Nick Fortes. Yeah, Nick.
Where'd we get Bethancourt?
Bethancourt's a Pirate.
Did he not also come from the Rays?
Is he a Ray?
I'm
right.
pretty sure he came from the Rays.
We need you get on that.
Yeah,
Jonah
you keep
Bride.
going.
I'm not going to say Bruhan's first name because I got made fun of earlier
Vito
saying it.
Bruhan.
All right, whatever. I was right on. Yeah, but those are the new Marlins in the bullpen. Cronin. What happened there? We talked about it for a second earlier.
Real quick, I think we only do business with the Tampa Bay Rays now.
He's a Ray too?
Christian Bethancourt, last 2 years,
This is unbelievable.
played for the Tampa Bay Rays.
And by the way, Pittsburgh, what you did with Jacob Stallings was not nice. That you scammed us. We can admit now. I don't know what that guy was when you gave him to us. He was nothing like what we
Yes.
expected coming out of
So
Pittsburgh.
you
He's got a home
said
in South Florida now.
Cronin. You said we're not talking about Jacob Stallings' retirement plans.
No.
Cronin looked good. Declan Cronin, again, back
They
into
gave
the
him.
bullpen.
They gave him all of extra innings.
Back into the bullpen in this game. Looked pretty good. Only the one real hiccup, which did surrender the loss, but yeah, a lot of new names contributing early on, and will be expected to contribute, especially on the staff in the wake of multiple injuries.
I think that's it for new guys, right? If I'm not mistaken.
think
Anthony
that's it
Bender
for
came back. We haven't seen him. We didn't see him at all last year, and Bender comes back and is solid. I believe he got an inning scoreless. Anthony Bender, yeah, one scoreless inning, had a walk and a strikeout. Good for him. Welcome back, Anthony Bender. Not as big of claps as Sixto Sanchez coming back, even though he gave a home run on his first at bat. And yeah, I think that's it for the game. I think we've covered that pretty well in detail.
So,
A little housekeeping before we get into our predictions for the season that we got to do today. Otherwise, they don't count, I guess. You know what? Let's save the predictions for tomorrow. We got Ethan tomorrow. You want to do that tomorrow? All right.
yeah, we can.
We'll
hold
push
it.
back. Watch tomorrow if you want to see season predictions with Ethan as well, who's probably going to pick like I don't know, the Marlins and the Red Sox to win it all.
Yeah, but you have us winning the World Series. It's not that
I do have the
egregious.
Marlins winning the World Series. Spoiler alert. Thank you for that, Nick. Now there's no reason to watch because everyone was waiting for my World Series prediction. Just some housekeeping. We talked about it at the top of the show. We're gonna step this up a little bit. We're gonna get the tech to a better level. We're gonna have a little intro and like a graphic at least on the YouTube video. I mean, geez. But no, we're trying to get out of StreamYard also. We haven't really talked about this, have we?
Yeah,
StreamYard.
this is news to me.
That's the place that we're doing this stream on. You know, it's all right. We'll figure something else out over the course of the season. But yeah, that's housekeeping. Thank you for listening to our TED Talk. We're gonna do this after games though. Little lounge chat. Nick doesn't want to. Nick only wants to do it once every 4 days. I got this guy working like he's a CEO. I mean, or a vice president of a firm where he's got to come in on like Wednesdays and wave at people. This is unbelievable. No, we're gonna be doing this every day. 162 episodes. That's our goal, at least. That's my goal. We'll see what we do. Ethan's probably watching this screaming. Before we finish up,
So
tomorrow there's a
AJ
game
Puck.
tomorrow,
AJ
and
Puck's
this is
first.
okay. So this is a point
First start.
about the bullpen. Yeah, AJ Puck, his first career start is tomorrow. The Marlins just threw 6 bullpen arms. They have Brian Hoeing and Bird Smith left that haven't thrown at all. I'd imagine, just looking at the numbers, that maybe Soriano only threw 24. Maybe Nardi could come back. He threw 15 pitches today. Sixto might throw again tomorrow if you go to the
So
ballpark on Friday night.
we need our reliever turned starter to stretch the
Probably go
game.
5. Probably go 5 or 6. We got 2 new bullpen
Yes.
arms.
So Puck again moved from the back end of the bullpen or later innings towards the end of the year to the bump at the beginning of the game. 3.97 ERA, 15 saves before he surrendered that role to David Robertson, if I'm not mistaken.
That went well.
I was trying to remember the order.
Yeah.
That didn't go too well, but
No.
I digress. Martin Perez on the other side. Martin Perez. On the other side for the Pirates went 10-4 last year with a 4.45 ERA over 20 starts, 35 appearances on the season. Fish looked to bounce back. Long road ahead. Just game 1 of 162. No need to overreact. No
Nick, I
need
got
to
you.
scream.
I got you at this one. I was right. It is Martin Perez.
Martin Perez, yes.
Martin Perez.
Martin. Good
I
work.
got you there. That's the matchup tomorrow, though. Perez versus Puck. AJ Puck. Starting for the Marlins, and it's a much needed new starting pitcher because the Marlins, like I said, are down 4 starters.
Do you know where AJ Puck went to school?
I was hoping we could avoid the AJ Puck talk. We're going to talk tomorrow about AJ Puck because he's going to actually start the game. Yes, he went to the University of Florida, and so did you. He's an alum. You might be if things go well somehow. But yeah, Puck versus Perez tomorrow. Am I getting Perez right at least?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah, Perez. Oh, I am the new
Fisherbeck.
New guy.
Fisherbeck.
We do have on this day. This is my one thing. Every episode we're going to end with on this day. On this day in Marlins history. Hold on, let's get the list up. On this day, Mark Kotsay traded for Matt Clement. What was that? All right. Mark Kotsay traded for Matt Clement. He would proceed to play 1 year on the Marlins. Clement would. And Kotsay, after being shipped off, I think played for 29 more seasons or something like that. That was in 2001. The Marlins traded Mark Kotsay on this day, just before the season started. So it's not new that we trade, pieces away just before the season begins. It's also a little strange that it's March 28th and we're playing baseball. It feels a little weird. Sweet 16 still on.
Little early.
It does feel a little early. But yeah, we're going to get to the Sweet 16. We're going to watch the Sweet 16 now because we're going to finish things up. For Marlins in the Morning, that's Nick Esposito. Ethan Bernstein pretended to be here for a few minutes. He'll be here tomorrow. He's at the ball game today. I'm Kyle Cruzy. I think that's all we got, right?
That's all I got.
All right. Thank you. And go Fish.
Go Fish. Let's go watch some basketball.